And I retired last year after 25 years with the agency. So I've learned a lot, trust me, through the years, but I also had my grandmother growing up in the house. And so I learned a lot by being one of her shadows and with all her colleagues. So,
But she lived to be 102.
my grandmother was 102, she passed. So I do have longevity. I don't know how good that is on my side. And, then Rick and I had done a radio show for 22 years. And we've traveled the world and we've done a lot of education and research with people about dementia and other worldly things that we've needed in our lifetime. And we decided that we did not want to go to our death without passing along the information that we have learned. So we are going to be doing a program on WLMB, which is a Christian TV station, and 90-second segments about aging and wellness. Monday through Friday, 8:28 p.m. for 90 seconds, or you can catch it on YouTube or something like that. So we will be doing a lot of that. But I did learn a lot working here with all of you and others. So you're somebody else coming in.
Well, let's get the picture.
Well, I'm trying to. You can do your part.
Well, what Jackie didn't mention is my side of the story. I've been a builder here in town now for 53 years. Built over 300 houses there in Bowling Green, 4 subdivisions. Started in the 1970s. And in the 1970s and 1980s, every house we built, mostly 2-story, 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms upstairs. Downstairs, living room, family room, half bath, and kitchen. Okay, because we never thought we'd get old, did we? And here we are. And then got to start working here at the senior center with some of the folks in the early 80s. And so about 1990, we transitioned every house we built from then on. It was 2-story. We always had a first floor master suite with a full bath. Maybe they didn't use it for a bedroom, maybe they used it for a rec room or an office or a computer room, but it was there just in case they needed it. But this whole concept of aging in place, when my mom went into the nursing home in 7 or 8 years ago, I got to see firsthand, it was roughly 80 residents. She was out of Woodhaven. She had wonderful care. Let me stress that. She had wonderful care. But out of roughly 80 residents, 78 were in wheelchairs. Okay, so I'm looking and seeing and thinking someday, maybe it will be 90, 100, who knows? We're going to maybe probably spend some time in wheelchairs. You got pictures yet? And then Jackie had, a number of years ago, she had minor toe surgery. And she's
I'm still
on,
paying for
maybe
it.
you guys remember that. She was on one of those kneeling scooters for a few weeks. Okay. So we had a ramp in our house that she could get in, no problem, because we had that there for my mom. And it's still there. We're gonna have a picture of it, I hope.
I hope.
And so when she'd go into the bathroom, our bathroom there, I'd have to take that kneeling scooter out over her head. And I'd have to bring in a bench over her head so she'd get in the bathtub. I said, this is bullshit. I'm sorry. I said, this is baloney. If something happened to me, and this were reversed, how would we manage this? And so we got to thinking about how we could change our house, And we want to do this while we're healthy, while we could still do it. And we did most of the work ourselves. And Jackie's hopefully going to show you all that work. We finished about 2 months ago. And Jackie tells everybody, I feel like I'm living in somebody else's house. But we had to take some space. We had to have extra space. Our bathroom was just really plain and ordinary. But when we built the house, we put in one of those fancy jacuzzi tubs. Not the great big ones, but it was more functional. We had a shower there, but with a shower track and everything for shower doors. Not every time, if you get in there, you'd stub your toe or you'd bang your knee and out your elbow around the bathroom, And so this was all led to all of this. Pictures? In a minute. So, like I said, the ramp was in the garage, which is still there, so that's all there. our master bedroom and all that in our existing house is on the main floor, so we didn't have to do that. We had to have more space. Adjoining the bathroom was the master bedroom closet. So there's your space that you need, expanding all of that. But now we have to have the closet, okay? Well, we had to add on to the house for that. So we
And
did.
ladies, mind you, I lost
Just a
room
foot.
in my,
Just a foot.
just a foot. There's a lot that can be put in a square foot, right?
Well, outside we were restricted how big we could go because we had irrigation lines, we had our electric service, we had the gas service, which could have been moved, but it would have been really a hassle to move all that. So we went as far as we could. Got the master bedroom closet, so the whole project took 8 months because we did it in order so that we were only out of our bed 4 nights out of this 8 months. We were out of the bathroom for a couple of months. Bedroom was still intact there.
But we had 2.5 other bathrooms.
Yeah, we had plenty.
So,
Like I said, we did most of the work ourselves. Jackie learned a lot of new skills and did a nice job. And we did need some help. I wanted to make sure we had on the shower and all that, the waterproofing and all that. And I watched the guys do it, they never really studied it, so we had the professionals come in and do that part of it. We have a heated floor. I don't know if any of you have ceramic tile in your house, you probably everywhere, but heated floors are just wonderful. And we haven't been through the winter yet, but even in the late spring and even a couple of cooler nights we had, we used that floor, and it's just wonderful. Come out of the shower, and that floor is warm, you go in the bathroom, and then if you step out of the shower and you're a little wet, that water dries up almost immediately because the floor. So all that, plus we put 2 wall heaters in addition to the heating system for the house. So last spring or earlier, and it wasn't really spring, it was early summer, when we started some cooler nights, we cranked those heaters up. And when the bathroom was 82 or 83, you could come out of there and not grab your towel like this. It was just warm enough, even though you're wet, you're really comfortable. So I think we've got everything right here. And Danielle gets this right. We will show you the pictures here, and you guys can ask some questions, and I'll elaborate more on the pictures as we go. Jackie was amazed how well this turned out. And because when we started, I had to start out in the garage, because like I told you, we needed to put an addition on the house. Well, the back door of the garage had to be moved because it swung out where the addition had to go. I had to move that. And then we had to take all the brick off that side of the house, which is brick, so we could reuse the brick. Because the brick's 26 years old, you can't buy the same brick. And so we save it, so take one brick at a time, and you have to clean them up. And very, very little waste. I got more stuff done. But so a couple of the first months, she's thinking, yeah, we're putting this addition on. He's working out in the garage. And again, part of the order that we had here.
When did you finish?
It's been about a month now. Yeah, but the total was eight months. I started last November, and we just finished up. So even though we've made continual progress, again, very little inconvenience because we have other bathrooms.
Here, we can do it directly from here.
Okay, that's our wedding picture, by the way. We redid our vows here just last year after 25 years, and that's the same wedding dress Jackie wore in our wedding, and I'm in the same suit. We're doing our vows 25 years later. There's the brick coming off.
Wait a minute, that's not doing it the way it's.
Yeah, and that window was out of our bedroom. That's gonna be the window is gonna be the door into the new closet. 'Cause
That is our ramp,
that's the ramp in the garage.
and that's what I'm
And
trying
I
to,
put that in 10 or 15, can you stay on the ramp for a second?
yeah,
Okay. I put that in 10 or 15 years ago when my mom, there's no way she'd come to our house in her wheelchair if we didn't have a ramp. And so we had her there a lot for all the holidays, and every time we had people there, she was there with us. And so the ramp got her in and out of there, but the ramp, we didn't want to use the ramp all the time, okay? Ideally, if you have to put a ramp in your house, you want it in the garage, inclement weather, that sort of thing. Let me say this, because I put ramps in other places. The zoning commission or a homeowners association cannot deny you access to your house. If you need a ramp, they say, well, it doesn't fit in with our architecture, that's baloney, they have to allow you someplace that you can put a ramp in if you're at need. So for that reason, but ideally you want to put it in your garage. And you see the steps over there to the left of the ramp, we didn't want to go up and down the ramp all the time. So we can walk in and use those steps, which is very convenient. So you have to think through, I don't want to use that, and you have to make it all work. The ramp's still there for us. It's not real wide. It was just wide enough for my mom's wheelchair. And every time I push up, oh, no.
She gritted her teeth.
Gritted her teeth. You have to have a landing at the ramp. And ideally, the slope on a ramp is 1 or
There you
12.
go.
So if you have to cover 10 or 12 inches to get into your house, it has to be 10 or 12 feet long. But some of the ramps where we don't have that will be a little steeper. And maybe you need to assist the people getting out of the ramp. It's not real pretty, but it could be taken out in about a half an hour if somebody bought the house later and wanted to use it. Okay, so there's the brick coming off. Some of it's waste, yeah. This is the addition going up, and the window there that just, hold on. We're gonna talk through these pictures. I'm glad you got these up, Danielle. That makes it a lot more interesting. Yeah, so this is behind the garage. You see our electric service over there to the left. Yeah, stop. Okay, the window there, which is back there where the,
Let me do this. There.
yeah, the window back here is in the bedroom. That's gonna come out. It's gonna actually be in a closet, more for aesthetics and more as a window. This was the door that was here, had to be moved over here. The lights have to be moved that were here, have to come over here, so there's electrical work involved. And then we're just gonna extend back and over. Really, you can't even tell now that it's finished. Okay, go to the next one. This is our bedroom before, and this was the closet door, which is now just gonna be a wall. The closet's gonna come out. We reused the doors where we could.
That's the other side of the closet
Yeah,
door.
yeah.
After we had.
Yeah, so
There
now
it is.
we've got the wall finished, disappeared. We moved the furniture over there, now we've got more wall space. We only have one window actually in the bedroom, but that's all we've ever opened. When you live in a house for 25 years, you realize this is good, I change this, change that, so now we're gonna
And
make
that's
this.
all bigger than what your original bathroom
Yeah,
was.
yeah, so this was our jacuzzi tub. We had leakage problems, so there's rotting in the floor, which I could never get sealed up there. And this was the track that Jackie continually, because you've only got half of, you've got shower doors there, so you've got this going in and out, you hit your
So
knee.
you bang your toe, you bang your knee and other places on your body while you're trying to get in and out, and, cause it's high, it's not a short little tub.
When we built the house, we said, we'd never live in the bathroom, so the rest of our house is overemphasized, the bathroom was de-emphasized. But now with the edging in place, we're gonna emphasize the bathroom, okay. This is demolition work here.
And there again, that was the
Yeah.
old closet.
Stop, could you go back there?
You're a pain.
Okay, you can see, oop. Yeah, closet, the old bathroom. This was where the mirrors were and stuff, which we took out and reused those over here. We liked them. Tri-vista mirrors, the sides open and you have a solid mirror in here. And so we're moving things around, so we have plenty of room for wheelchairs. And gradually, we're still using this, the vanity and stuff, so we're not really technically not able to use the bathroom. Okay, next picture. Good, now you see the bathroom, the new bathroom taking shape. The new shower's over here where the old shower was, so we used same plumbing. We had a linen closet. After all these years, we've never had a linen closet, so we built that in there. And we're gonna have, instead of a little over 3-foot vanity, we're gonna have a 7-foot vanity with double sinks in the new bathroom.
This is just another view of
View.
what Rick was telling you. That's a 5x5 shower.
Yeah.
And then we have another vanity in one of the other bathrooms that we utilized because it was the same style.
But I moved the old one over here and we were able to use it for a few more months.
Flipped it around.
Yeah, I just flipped it around, we used that. And of course, the same old door, but we were able to widen it. So you've got electrical involved, you got doors, okay, now here, this is the finish, stop that. We were able to widen the door into the bedroom 2 more inches, which doesn't sound like much, but it's a big deal. We were able to widen this door 2 more inches, which again is a big deal for a wheelchair. And then we created a hard surface, if you're in a wheelchair, all the way from the kitchen down the hallway into the bathroom. So you're not coming in on carpet. The carpet doesn't start till back here. This is the new carpet. There's a view coming down the hallway, your hard surface. This is all done now. And now
This is the
Jackie's
finished
gonna
product.
walk you through the new bathroom here continuously. Heated floor, remember that tiles that heated floor? We had it on this morning, it was really nice. Plenty of width there between the wall and the vanity for a wheelchair.
And being my father's son, I've learned how to lay tile and mow lawns.
There's one of those wall heaters I was telling you about, which you just use when you want to. Double vanity, his and hers. Plenty of towel rings and accessories. Jackie got one of those makeup mirrors. Makeup mirror was lighted. So again, you're moving electrical around and making sure it all works in the right place. Plenty of vanity lights over the vanity. We've got 7 of those new recessed lights.
If you need new lights, the new LEDs are remarkable.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, we've noticed as you get older, you want your lights brighter.
We've
I
got
don't know if any of you
around our
noticed that.
island, in our kitchen,
Yeah.
we have,
Grab bar by the toilet. And the toilet's got enough space on both sides. If you needed to add those bars, different combinations, whatever you need, you could add those later. Another wall heater on this side of the bathroom. Coming into view right there.
Yes.
That's stencil. Jackie did all the stenciling on that wall. There's no wallpaper. Okay, this is the shower. You see, you could wheel right into the shower. The curtain is there just because we did not move the plumbing and comes this way, and so we get a little spray
getting
there.
up there.
Yeah, this was the original plumbing location. Niche up here for your shampoo.
Right. Yeah. And then the seat.
Yeah, that's one of those fold down seats. And that is really nice. We use that all the time. But yet you can fold it up so it's not in your way. That's covers over the drain so you don't stub your toe there on a drain or anything. Jackie's got a place to hang her stuff up there and soap dish.
That shower head is on the back wall. Normally, it would be on the side wall,
Yeah, it's
so
great.
it would hit this other side wall where the niche is. And that way you wouldn't need to have a door or a shower curtain, because there's very little water that is sprayed out onto the floor, but with the heated floor, it dissipates quickly.
We didn't change the plumbing that was here, because if we'd have put it over here, that's into our kitchen. Now you're into the refrigerator and heat ducts and all that sort of thing, so we left it there. And the shower curtain is a minimal inconvenience. I added a high-powered exhaust fan in this bathroom too, so that we don't get much steam in there.
And there, of course, is our grab
There's one
bar, one of our grab bars. We have another one to install yet.
Maybe talk about the placement of grab bars. What's the most important aspect of
You
that?
have to do, it's very individual.
Mm.
Where do you reach?
Well,
Where do you reach for? Yeah.
he's a foot taller than me.
Yeah.
I mean, so you've got to stop it and think
I
in
put-
relationship.
I put a lot of grab bars in for people. I say, come on in here and show me. Where do you grab? Where do you want, and we put them right where they want them. We find ways to anchor them in, even if there's not anchors in the walls. There's different fastening mechanisms.
There's a close-up of the heater.
The feeders are all on a timer. The floor heat is all programmable. Jackie's gonna show you the thermostat, which is right around the corner.
And you can see the transition into the bedroom and the hallway there.
Yeah, there's the. Program. We haven't figured out how to program it yet, so we're still doing it manually. Someday we'll get the directions out, really. Any questions about anything?
There's one more here, Rick.
Well, yeah, this is another fairly, Alston's is one brand that you can put all this in for handheld and in the future. It's no more than changing the shower head. It's very easy to add all this stuff. If you want.
So you could do that now. You have just
Yeah.
a regular
Yeah.
shower head.
Yeah, there you see the wheelchair in there.
That's a special shower, wheelchair.
No,
No, it's just one we put in there.
that's just one that we put in to show the size of the shower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure they have whatever you do.
Just it does show a,
Little bump there.
yeah,
You
Yeah.
can get a
Yeah,
transition.
we put a transition there.
oh, okay.
Right now, we don't need it, but they
Yeah.
are.
They make them that are floor flat, but I don't want to take any chances of water running out of there. It's better to have this.
So the transition thing would be just like a little.
It would be like what you would have in a
Yeah.
door that it had a little slip.
I could. make
Rise
one, or
to
we could
it.
Buy one,
Yeah.
whatever.
You could even make one,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
We can handle that stuff for now. Who knows what the future holds?
But the other thing that we wanted to suggest was make sure you don't have throw rugs. I mean, we've done,
TV set.
other segments where on that floor in the bathroom there, if you throw a towel on that, you don't have the rubber backing on it, you're gonna go boom immediately. So you wanna make sure you don't have throw rugs that you could trip over or that will slide under your feet and cause you to fall.
And to
Um,
always bring a phone in the bathroom.
Absolutely. My grandmother, God bless her. We'd go for walks on her walker and we had a 3-car driveway. She would make sure that she had, and it was before these kind of phones. It was the kind that you had to hang up all the time and everything. She had her basket and she's walking up and down the driveway,
Mhm.
you know, and the phone would ring. She was our secretary and she would remember everything. But she had that phone with her, so that's very important.
Those were called cordless phones.
Cordless, thank you. Forgotten what they were called.
Right.
This bitch had long cord.
Well, she tried that too, but she would remember everything. I'm trying to think too, like in our house, you can see the traffic patterns on your carpet. If you do want carpet, I would suggest a very low tile textured carpet that you would be able to use your walker on. We've done this,
Wheelchairs just ruin the carpet. We've got
Exactly.
rental houses for that stuff.
but, we've noticed the traffic pattern and we are in the process of removing carpet in the areas and putting flooring. Wood flooring.
Jackie still delivers meals for the agency because she loves it. So she had me out last year on the Pemberville route. I don't know if any of you have ever done that route, but there's about 24 on that route. The first 12 were in Pemberville. Okay. So you got old houses, maybe 70, 80 years old, 4 or 5 steps to go up. We go in there, it happened to be winter time and the people are freezing because the heat isn't real good, that sort of thing. And then the last 10 or 12 deliveries are out at Otterbach. Okay. Where it's all been designed for independent living, and you drive right up and you pull right up to the house, it's all one walk-in and people's names there and their address. And I said to Jackie, I said, you see, if we design in the beginning, the engineers and everybody works together, we can do this. We just never thought when we started building houses in Pemberville 70 years ago, we'd get all of it. We can do it. If you plan it in, if you were building the house, 3-foot doors, there's hardly any cost to it.
But
Yeah.
years ago, hundreds of years ago, the efficiency for the heat was up
Yeah,
right above.
some of them, yeah,
So
yeah.
you've got to stop and think about the houses back then.
So, go ahead.
When you're talking about traffic patterns, are you taking all the carpet out or just, are you just like doing the.
True.
We got in my
Yeah.
picture, yeah, we see where the
See if
trails
I
are.
can find the picture.
We're gonna make it logical.
Oh,
Under the dining room table and around, but we can make it logical. That's our next project. We have a friend that we have over, he wears cowboy boots that are highly polished, and since our dining room table, now we have shoe polish. And it's, yeah, we have a big stain remover to get it out. That's, we're gonna do around our dining room table. Hardwood floor, she's got a picture of that, because we're doing a TV segment about this very topic.
Take this one, so.
Yeah.
He does now, yeah. After.
This isn't the one.
You're in there on the road, so. All right, so please, there you go.
Hospital side.
Yeah, you can see the carpet there.
This is where, in front of our couch. And that's where I sit to do my knitting. Go figure. And I'm barefoot.
Yeah, and we just the two of us, we have pets. We have
So
a
this is
Kirby
our
sweeper.
traffic pattern, but here's under our dining table.
You can see the spots, so that'll all be hardwood now, and then we'll have carpet around it, kind of a outline of the room. Did you want to show the first TV segment? You got it on? Yeah, 1 minute, 4 minutes, yeah, 1 minute, you got it there. Thank you. Oh, 90, 37, yeah.
Isn't that the one you wanted?
That's fine.
Hi, I'm Rick. And I'm Jackie, creators, producers, and co-hosts of Affirm Foundation for Life, now Joyful Aging Messages. Wisdom we've accumulated from years of living with elderly relatives, working at the senior center, spending years at nursing homes, reporting on major health topics from across the country, and ministering to people at the end of life.
We've been called to share this wisdom with you. Since life is a journey, we're just walking each other home.
And that's our theme, walking each other home.
But Jack and I have another thing too, that there's no good ways to go, there's just some worse than others. And I've watched over 60 people die at the nursing home and other issues. I've actually conducted 5 funerals, was actually a fake 5 different funerals. Because I was the builder of their house, it wasn't anything special, so.
I was actually at work one day reading the newspaper for various things, and I looked at the obituaries of, because I knew one of our friends had passed. And it says, and the service will be officiated by Rick Matz, lovely. I called him, I go, you are officiating at her, what? So, yeah, it does happen.
It's not my word, it's God's word.
That's right.
Compass people. Any questions?
What channel is your show on?
What's that?
What
It'll
channel?
be on WLND, but it's gonna be on stream, so if you have a topic, you Google,
Oh,
you come out, or go to like the segments on our
not
website.
until October 2nd.
You watch it on YouTube or Facebook, Instagram, all this platform is gonna be on there. This will all start out first of October.
Associate broker. Okay, good. With Dan Barry. And I have been in the selling real estate since 2006. And started actually in the state of Oregon. I was on the southern Oregon coast, right on the Pacific Ocean. I was born and raised in Maumee, went to college here in Bowling Green, and left for several years and came back to be with my family. And so I joined Danbury in 2020. And I love real estate, and one of my focuses has actually been working with the senior community and in downsizing. I am actually a certified or senior real estate specialist, as well as a certified residential specialist. So it's something that I've been focusing on throughout my career. And I have helped a lot of people downsize their homes. Now, what we're going to be talking about today, you can go to the next one if you want. What we're going to be talking about today is not just if you own a home, but also if you rent, because downsizing is a matter of keeping yourself safe. So, but I do like to ask, how many of you own your home? How many have been in your home more than 10 years? More than 20? 30? 40, 50. Oh my gosh, how long?
52, 70.
Oh my gosh,
56.
56. And
53.
53. Well, that is not unusual at all. And when you're in a home for 53 years, I bet you accumulated a few things, haven't you? So because I'm in real estate, I have this focused on if you want to sell your home, what you need to do to prep your home to get it to sell. However, the whole downsizing portion is really, if you want to stay in your home and have the, do whatever you need to fix it up to stay, I am all in on that. But you still might want to start downsizing some of your things. Because as I found with my sister's passing, she didn't downsize anything. And she wasn't in her home all that long, so there is a lot to downsizing, whether you stay or decide to sell your home, but I kind of approach this more from a real estate perspective. So what have you heard about the market
Good.
so far?
Don't worry, Mark.
It is still a seller's market, yes, but I will say that's starting to shift a little bit. I listed 2 homes last week where normally I would have had multiple offers and I got 1 offer on each of them. Now, 1 offer is all you need. They were good offers and that's all you need. Sometimes there's some homes that still have some competition, but it's starting to slow up a little bit. And part of the reason for that are the interest rates. The interest rates now are hovering around 7.5%, on average 7.25%, 7.5%. We're expecting them to head up to 8% pretty soon. So when the interest rates start to head up, now, for me, that's actually a reasonable number, to be honest with you. The interest rates that we've had over the last decade have been ridiculous. My first home I bought, I was at 7%. So 7% is not an unreasonable number, but to get people adjusted from the 3% and 4% interest rates and even the 5%, it takes time for the buyers to catch up to what's going on and adjusting what they want to do. But that said, there's still a big lack of inventory because the people who bought their homes at 3% and 4% interest rates don't want to sell. If they sell and want to upgrade, they can't because the interest rates are so high that they're in almost the same type of home. So a lot of people are staying put, which means that there's a lack of inventory. So should you want to sell, that means you are going to, the values are still holding. So even though the activity is coming down a little bit, the prices are still at the higher level as they've been. But I will say my last 2 listings did not go above asking. So if you're priced right, you're getting asking, but you're no longer going, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 above asking anymore. I'm seeing that start to slow down. So I am expecting things to start to stabilize, which is not a bad thing. But if you're selling, it's not what you want to hear, I understand, but I always like to tell people where it is. But I'm gonna say we're going to start to head into a more stable market, I'm gonna say over the next 6 months. Which means still lack of inventory, your prices are still good, but you're not gonna get the same activity. And instead of selling your house in a day, it may take a month or 2. In a normal market, it could take 3 to 4 months to sell your house. That's what a normal market is. And you don't get 10 people on the first day. Get a couple people here, a couple people there, and it's staggered out a little bit more. That's a normal market. So I see us starting to head back that way, which is not a horrible thing. Actually, it's better for the economy overall. So just any questions on that? Okay, yes.
Do condos around here sell faster than homes or?
No, they don't actually, and it's been really interesting. I've had a lot of buyers who specifically say they don't want to share a wall, but yet they want the HOA and they want things taken care of. And then there's others who don't care. So it's really, I don't think that they sell any faster or slower than a single family. It's all about who's out there and looking for what. Yeah, I've had them sell the same way. Yeah. Anything else? Okay. So clutter does have an impact on our lives. I know it can make, it really, so she's nodding her head back there. It does. First of all, it's a safety hazard. Number 2, it can be depressing. It's dirty. nobody likes to look at stuff that you don't use, because to me, it's just mental stress and aggravation. Sometimes you look at something, you go, I've got to take care of this. How do I go about doing this? And then you keep looking at it and it keeps just weighing on you. At least that's me. So I saw a hand pointing there. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's just what we do. We all do it. It's part of our nature. And when you're in a home for 50 years, 40, 50 years, things are there. Your kids' things are there. Your grandkids' things are there. I carried around my stepson's things for 3 houses until finally we downsized and we called him and said, pick it up or it's going. And he did. So, you know, we end up collecting things, and it can have a negative bearing on our psyche. So that's one of the reasons I created this. When I go into homes, this was the biggest issue that people had when they were getting ready to sell their home is, how do I get it ready? I don't know what to do. I have this stuff. Go ahead. So there is no good or bad time to start doing this process. But if you think you're going to sell, even in 5 years, even if you say to myself, I want to sell my home in 5 years, start thinking about the downsizing process now, especially if your home is really cluttered. The first thought you have on it, just start doing it. And also, again, don't be a storage unit for others. So over the 5 years, when you know you're gonna sell 5 years from now, don't start letting your kids bring stuff over. You gotta draw the line and make sure that nobody else adds to what you're doing. But it does make a big difference when you have a timeline and you're set with that, even if it's a year, 2 years. Unfortunately, what I also see is sometimes something happens and somebody needs to move quickly and they haven't really planned it out. And then all of a sudden, things have to happen faster. And that can happen too. So let's see here. Okay. Next slide. So the first things I tell you, call your kids and your grandkids. Call them up, have them come over, give them whatever they want. That's what, if you are not taking it to your new location, let them take it now. If it's a family heirloom that you knew you were passing down to somebody, give it to them now. Let them enjoy it. Unless it's something you're really going to keep and utilize, I say let them take it with them, because I think it's more special to give it to somebody while you're here and able to pass it along. Now, I get this an awful lot. My kids don't want anything. I saw it on 3 faces. They're going, nah. My kids don't want it. Yes, I know they don't, but you know what? You've got to give them the opportunity, and you'd be surprised every once in a while that they might. But if they don't, then what you can do is start asking them for help and helping you downsize. Maybe you can make a plan to come by once a month or something and help you move some boxes. Maybe you make a plan with them, let them know what you're trying to do, because the kids have been can be very, very helpful. Especially if they're in the area, they come by often, but this is always the first place. Ask them for help. See if they'll help you with the process, and if they don't want anything, then at least you know. Because you need to know up front. You may have the idea that I'm gonna give this lamp that my mother gave me, you know, to my daughter, and then she's kind of, I don't want that thing. You need to know so that you're not saving things for somebody who doesn't actually want them as well. Because I've seen that happen a lot too. They call their kids, they go, my child didn't want this. It's like, okay, there's ways to take care of things like that. Next slide. Thanks. So if you know where you're going, so there are ways to measure your space. Some people go into a villa and assisted living. If you know you're moving into an apartment, wherever it is that you're going, if you know where you're going, try and measure the space and get the dimensions so you know exactly what you have that you can take with you. I had a lady recently, she knew exactly where she was moving to, measured the space, and still took twice as much stuff than what she should have had. Walked in and there were boxes everywhere, and she still had to get rid of things, but that's okay. But I try and advise people to measure so that you really know, will that sofa fit in the space? You're downsizing, your walls are not as big. Sometimes you cannot fit everything in that you wanna keep. So you really need to know, do I need a new sofa instead of using the one that I already have? Because the one that I already have is 4 cushions and I can only fit, 2.5 or 3 in the new place. Whatever the issue is, you wanna make sure that you have at least an idea of how much you're gonna keep. Because then those items you're setting aside. Tagging them, you're keeping them and you're not gonna touch them. But you wanna plan for where you're moving to and not just for the things you wanna keep. Yes.
I was hoping he might speak to the psychology of having your parents do any of this.
Oh, gosh.
Because
Oh,
this was a senior centered thing, I thought maybe someone was gonna talk about what,
oh, that's not what I had in mind, but I will tell.
I didn't know you were just gonna
Yeah.
talk about something, but.
Yeah, no, well, downsizing your home in general, but as far as getting your parents to want to move, is what you're saying, to downsize them or
She
to?
lives in a 920-foot square home for 70 years. Collected antiques, so in her house, there's 500 kerosene lamps.
Oh my
in the
God.
home, and there's this trail and she falls and but it's all precious.
I
It's
understand.
a 7-0 building.
My mother-in-law lived in an apartment, she happened to be in San Francisco. She had a 1-bedroom apartment. And when she finally let us in, it's actually an interesting story. When I first started dating my husband, she always met us down at the street when we'd come pick her up, wouldn't let us in. And so I kept saying, I'd love to see your apartment. She said, no, not until you're engaged. So we get engaged, and not until you're married. Then we get married, she goes, after 5 years, I wanna make sure you're gonna stick. And finally at 10 years, she fell. And my husband got in, and it was a similar thing. She had a trail through the apartment. She didn't want anybody in because she didn't want the building to find out, she didn't want anybody to find out. And unfortunately, we had to basically come get her and take her someplace and clean the place out.
Did you kick and scream? And
She did a little bit, but we did it anyway. Basically, my husband just came and said, I'm taking you out of here, I have to. And that's not the way you wanna do it. My mother is still in an 8,000 square foot home in Maumee. I can't get her out. Yes, 8,000 square feet. It is a big house. I can't get her out. And she basically said, I can live on the first floor. I don't need to go downstairs. And that's kind of what she does. And she said, I'm never moving unless you can find me the same view, and I can't because it doesn't exist. And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to survive with this.
She's all by herself.
She is, but we check in on her all the time. She's never alone.
all the places she never comes.
Yeah.
Never goes in 8,000.
No, you don't. Sometimes she doesn't, but we do. We make sure everything's okay. And we check the house and all of that, but no, she doesn't want to go anywhere.
How
And
long
so,
has she been there?
42 years now. She built that house when I was 18, so yeah.
Is she on a river or something?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's got a river view and she keeps telling me, find me a view with water, and I keep taking her to places that have some water view. She goes, no, that's not as nice as mine. And so
And it's gonna be great when she passes there, that real estate.
she won't leave. So I would love to talk to that, but unfortunately, it's just something that they've gotta be ready to do it on their own. However, maybe talking to them about who to call to help them sell some of their things. Because there are estate sale people, there are people who will come in, and we're gonna get to some of that, cause that's kind of what this is about, is how to kind of go about doing some of that. That maybe that will help alleviate some of the issues if you can get her to start selling some of it. But what I have found is you can't force somebody to do it.
No,
And I-
because we've got names of those and they're all corrupt.
And I just wanna attest to the fact that if it's a safety hazard and you're concerned about her well-being and health and safety, sometimes you can also work with adult protective services. And they can kind of facilitate some measures to ensure that she's safe within her home. Because it becomes a fine line between collecting items
Yes.
and hoarding
Mhm.
and having excess, and then still being able to live and maneuver through your house safely. So I just wanna make that as a point too.
Absolutely, and that's an excellent point. Yeah, there's always people who can help. I have found that there is always somebody who can help no matter what the issue is. Next one. So, yes.
The same as an offer.
No, they're a little bit different, but it depends on the company. Some of them do both. So some will take your things and they do online auctions these days. There's some for belongings. Most of the time for belongings, there are a couple of people I know, who do online auctions. Then there's others who will just come to your home and do a full estate sale and sell everything. So there's different people for different things. Yes.
John Whalen still does auctions where people can participate in the auction.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay,
Excellent.
he was, and that's for personal property, and that's for personal.
Well, he also sells real estate at auction
Okay.
if necessary, but he's the best person for selling things in auction with.
I know several people who sell the, sorry, guys, I can't.
Yeah.
There's, several people who sell the real estate at auction, but to sell the personal property at auction, I will
He specializes.
keep that,
in
that's good to know.
property.
And then I know a few people who do it also online for the things that are
He
more
also-
valuable or bigger items.
He is located in Neapolis. He has a huge auction barn. The things can be taken there, or he can do it on the premises.
Okay,
He's superb.
John
John Whalen.
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 How far away is Neapolis?
25 minutes, maybe you go through Waterville.
Do you find
Thank
that
you.
there aren't that many auctioneers of the traditional anymore?
Oh, no, there's several of them around. No, there are several regular auctioneers. I just know that the couple that I know do real estate, not personal property. So that's why they've kind of gone to online auctioning. So you do, more the eBay style where they have bids and it's online for a period of time. But my clients who have used those options have been very happy with it as well. So they work with a company who does that type of thing, and they'll either do the sale in-house or put it online if it's something larger or an antique or something more special, and do the research. But thank you for that. I always appreciate new names. I will look him up. So when you're thinking about downsizing and actually trying to tackle your house, I always try to break it down to the smallest common denominator here. So you want to start one room at a time. And I always say, start with your smallest and least cluttered room. Because you don't want to tackle the room that has boxes all the way up, it's too overwhelming. But if you've got one room that is not as cluttered as others and a little bit smaller, I always say, start with one room. Now, mind you, there are people who will do this for you if you don't want to do it yourself. But I know a lot of people, if they're not moving for 5 years or think they're gonna stay in their home, a lot of people wanna go through things on their own. So there's both options, but yes, there are people who will come in and do all of this for you if you want them to. And there's usually a fee for the setup, they charge, take a percentage, and that's great, but a lot of people wanna do it themselves. So I'm looking at this more as a do it yourself or having the kids help you concept. So so one of the things you really wanna do is also on the one room at a time, give yourself a schedule. So I always say, put time in your calendar in order to work on decluttering your home and downsizing. If it's one day a week for 3 hours that you wanna do it, that's great. Put it in your calendar, set it as an appointment, because that way you will do it. I put everything in my calendar. If it's not in my calendar as an appointment, it doesn't get done. That's even, I need to go to the grocery store. Okay, I can do it at this time on this day. I mean, I have everything in my calendar. So I just say, if you want to start doing this, give yourself a schedule. If you're doing it over the course of a year and you think it's going to take you a certain amount of time, break it up if you want to do it once a week, once a month, once every other week, whatever it is, but set yourself a schedule, and then again, you won't be overwhelmed. When you come to the stop time, you know that there's an end to it, so it's not an overwhelming task. Next, please. Thanks. The next thing you wanna do is create piles, and these are my piles. You keep it, pass it down, donate it, sell it, or you're gonna trash it or recycle it. And I put a bag out you're in your room, in the hallway, wherever you're at, have a bag for each. And as you're taking the things out during your time, put it in each bag, and when your time is done, you do not take those bags and go, well, the bags aren't full, so I'm gonna put it back in the room and keep filling it up till later. No, 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 no. You're gonna take the bags, close them up, and throw out what you wanna throw out. If it's something to donate, you're gonna put it in the car right away so you can take it to Goodwill or wherever it's going. If you're passing it down, you're gonna take it to whomever's home you're giving it to, if they're not coming to you. And if you're keeping it, you're just gonna mark it and it's gonna get set aside. But if you take it in small steps and get rid of the piles every time before you move on to the next time you're doing it or the next room, you're going to start to see progress in the space and it's gonna open up. But I have seen too many people try and tackle the biggest room with the most stuff in it all at once and then never get rid of it. Well, I got it in the boxes, but then the boxes are all over the house. It's like, okay, that worked in shuffling it, but no, the whole point is to move it. Yeah.
You have too big a garage.
Yeah.
How do you decide? Okay. That's my biggest problem. Gee, do I wanna keep this, or, you know, do I want, I decide that.
Here's one of the things I always say. One, how long has it been since you've used it? So if you look at something and go, oh, should I keep this? When was the last time you used it? If it was within the last year, you can consider keeping it. If you haven't looked at it in 5 years and forgot it was there, you probably don't need it. And the other thing I say is, if you missed it, would you run back out and buy it again? And not everything you're gonna say yes to that. If you look at it and go, well, I haven't used it in the last year, but I really like it and I think I wanna keep, well, if you didn't have it, would you, and you needed it, would you go out and buy it again? So those are the two things that I always ask myself when I'm looking to get rid of something. And every once in a while, I've made a mistake. I have absolutely made mistakes. I go, oh, I never should have got rid of that. I did that with some kitchen stuff. I had to downsize a lot of kitchen things and I ended up going out and buying a new cake pan or a new this, but it wasn't everything else that I got rid of. So you're not gonna be perfect at it, but on the other hand, those are the two questions I usually ask. That's a great question. Yes?
My thinking along that line is, what would my children say about this?
Well, I used to ask myself that until my stepson came when we were downsizing into our last place. And he'd hold things up like I had a couple of different sets of candlesticks. Okay, you get to keep one. Which one do you want? I'm like, I have to decide right now. He's like, yes, which one? And I go, okay, I'll keep that one. And then I regretted it. And I'm like, I wanted the other ones. And it's like, but they were gone. You know, I already donated them. So it's like, okay, I still have a set of candlesticks. It's not that big of a deal. You know, I try and look at it as he did that for 4 or 5 boxes worth of stuff. And we actually got rid of some stuff that we forgot. We had things tucked in between and went, oops. Okay, it's gone, you know, and after a while, it's like, okay, did we really even use it? No, not really. It was something we lugged around for 3 different houses or had it sitting in a basement for 20 years and really forgot about until we looked at it and said, oh, I remember this. And then it went away and we went, okay, it was fine. It's hard though when you're in the moment. Did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, I keep a thing in the garage that I just keep dropping things in to get rid of.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And then if you have a place for your boxes or whatever, however you want to do it, then every time if you're in a room and you see something, go, you know what, I'm gonna donate this or I'm gonna get rid of it, and then you just put it in. That's a wonderful idea. Then at least it's not in the house, it's not in the room. If it's in the garage or something, it's kind of out of the way a little bit. That's great.
Yeah, then you donated to the Wood County Senior Center rummage sale in November.
That is fabulous. I belong to a charity group in Oregon and they do garage sales every year. So I would accumulate all these things and just keep them stashed in a room. And my husband was always very happy when the garage sale rolled around because I basically cleared out a whole room of things.
You think that's in November?
November, yes.
That's great. Good to know. No. The other thing I want to mention too, a couple of things. Depersonalizing. If you're going to sell your house, and that's the ultimate goal, you want to depersonalize it too. So if you have collections of things, I've seen also, you know, curio cabinets of things. I had somebody recently with a spoon collection. I've seen beer stein collections. I've seen doll collections. I've seen all sorts of collections. If you know you're moving, it's something you either want to try and auction off and sell, or donate or give to the kids or whatever it is, and you're thinking of moving, my suggestion is always to keep them safe and to depersonalize the home, put them in a box and just label the box and put the box aside. Put it in a basement, in a garage, put it somewhere else, but you want to pack those kind of things up first. Especially if it's something you think you want to keep and take to your next location, just get it out of the way right away. Because once you're putting a home on the market, you want it to be less personal so that the buyer can see themselves in the home. But if you're staying and it's something you don't want it to get damaged, you might want to set it aside till you get everything else cleaned up and then you can put it back in the house. You might find a new location for it, or do something different, or have a different way of putting it in your home.
What, in your next home, you mean, or?
Either your next home or your current home. If you're staying where you are and you just want to declutter a little bit, I still say set aside collections, put them in boxes and then go through everything else and then you can bring them back out.
Okay. That includes religious stuff if you're selling from.
Yeah, if you don't want to keep it and take it to your next place, absolutely. People have collections of all sorts of things.
And photos and that kind of stuff.
Well, photos, I like to have family photos for the most part taken down. You can leave a few up, but one of the things that I see all the time when a house is for sale, the buyers walk in and if there's family photos, they don't even look at the house. The first thing they do is they go to the pictures. Do I know these people? You know, and also your pictures now of your home are all over the internet. So you don't want your personal pictures all over the internet either. And that's the way I see it. It's keeping the personal pictures to a bare minimum, is my preference. Just for those two things, it's more a privacy issue than anything, really.
What about artwork?
Art, for the most part, it depends on how cluttered the art is. So if your wall is filled with pieces of art, I'd say tailor it down to just a little bit. And I work with people on that too and say, you know, keep these three and get rid of everything else and put it away.
All my art seems to have cats in it, one way or another. They're all very different. They're not like the.
You have some art around the house. There's no issue with that. I usually don't have any problem.
Of all of them.
No, I usually don't have any issue, because you don't want the walls to be completely bare. You want something on the walls. I just like personal pictures taken down because I don't like people in them when they're online and other people are seeing who's there and yeah, it's privacy more so than the art itself.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you take your collections out, or pictures and you're selling your house, what do you fill it with? I mean, you don't want it bare, do you?
Yeah, sometimes less is more. Less is more. You want the buyer to walk into your home and be able to see themselves there. If all of your personal items and collections and art and everything are all over the place, a buyer walks in, and I've had this happen in a few homes, and they're like, I can't see myself living here. Well, that's because somebody else's stuff is everywhere. So less is more. Yes.
The other thing, with all your stuff in there, the buyer walks in, what's behind there? What are you covering up? What can't I see?
Well, I will say when I do a walkthrough, when I know somebody's selling and they're trying to downsize, I have walked through and said, okay, this area needs to be opened up. You know, I had a home recently where the basement literally, it was the most organized thing I've ever seen. Everything was in bins. All the bins were marked, you know, girls' toys ages 5 through 10, girls' toys ages 10 through 15. I mean, it was astounding, but filled to the ceiling throughout the house, and you had pathways to get through. Well, there's the furnace and the hot water heater. I'm like, all this has got to be cleared out. We've got to be able to get to it. All this has got to be cleared out so you can get to it. So there's that fine line between what needs to be moved and what doesn't, but you're correct. Things have got to be able to be accessible to an inspector or to the buyer so that they can check the house. And if a crawl space is blocked because you've got cartons on top of it, that's got to be cleared off, things like that. So thank you for that point. That's an excellent point. Okay. This is kind of talks to the last speaker. If you want to stay in your home, I'm sure he gave you a lot of good ideas about how to work your home, to stay there. This is more, I'm looking at it from the perspective of, I'm going to be downsizing or I'm moving out. So if you're moving out of your home and, or you just want to make your home safer, do you renovate or don't you? And so I try to tell people, look at your home through buyer's eyes. And that's hard when you've lived in it for a long time. So invite somebody else to get an opinion. Whether it's a realtor, or a family friend, somebody who doesn't come to your home all the time. It's amazing what other people will see that you don't notice. But what you want to try and do is think about it from a buyer's perspective. The other thing is, I don't want anybody to overspend. If I'm taking a listing, I don't want you're selling your home. I don't want you to spend money unnecessarily. There's times where people want to patch things up, fix things that really are not necessary, especially in the current market. When it's a seller's market, there's buyers who will take homes in all sorts of conditions. Now that's starting to shift. Again, with a more stable market, the buyers get to ask for a little bit more than what they might have asked for in the past. So it's something to keep in mind with the shifting market. But the one thing you don't want to do is sink a lot of money into your home before you move, because 90% of the time you don't get it all back. And there is something from the National Association of Realtors they put out a few years ago, and it was a list of what percentage that you put out to renovate a bathroom, to renovate a kitchen, things like that. What do you get back? And on a kitchen, you get back about 60 to 70% of the money that you put into it. Renovating a bathroom is about the same. The only thing that got 100%, and I was really shocked, were hardwood floors. You put in hardwood floors, they say you'll get all that money back out, or if you replace your heating and air conditioning systems, or if you put in insulation, things like that. And I will say a new roof, even though it's technically maintenance, a new roof goes a long way. So if you know that the roof is old, but then there's some times where there's still some life left on it and it's not necessary to do that. But that is something where you will get that back in the value, but other things you don't. So if your bathrooms are dated, your kitchen is dated, things like that, you don't have to fix them up. What you want, you don't have to remodel them, I should say. What you want to do is make sure that it's feasibly possible. You want everything to look spick and span, even if it's 50 years old. If you've got an old retro pink tile in your bathroom, which are back in style, by the way, a lot of people still like those now, just make sure that those tiles sparkle and that they're not all cracked and things of that nature. It's going to go a long way if your home is clean, just not necessarily updated. But the one thing, the two areas where I definitely look for are painting and flooring. How old is the carpet and what does it look like? Now you can have 20, 30-year-old carpet, but it still looks good and you give it a good shampoo and it looks fine. I say leave it. But if you've got carpet that's all torn and stained and you've tried to clean it in the past, it might do you well to take that one room out and replace the carpet. Things of that nature. And again, it's a case-by-case basis because we don't want to spend too much money. So these are the things that I look at. And then paint. Peeling paint is a problem, especially on the interior and exterior. There's certain loans and based on the age of the house that don't allow peeling paint. So if your home has some peeling paint on the windowsills or the exterior, there's certain loans that are automatically counted out. Unless you're willing to fix that. Now, there's many times where I say don't fix it. Cause again, in this market, those loans, usually, they're the FHA loans and sometimes VA loans require that there's no peeling paint. And it's for lead-based paint purposes, usually on older homes. But in this market, usually those are not the loans that people are using, because there's so much competition and there's repairs that have to get done sometimes with those loans. So unfortunately, a lot of sellers are taking more conventional loans, and in that case, the peeling paint is not an issue. So again, there's a give and take. How bad is it though, too? I mean, if your house hasn't been painted in 30 years and the whole side of it's peeling, you probably need to fix that. But if you just got a couple of spots where the paint's chipping a little bit, but in general, it's in really good condition, you're fine leaving something like that. The other thing I always suggest, if your roof leaked, and I see this a lot, your roof leaked 15 years ago, you replaced your roof, but never fixed the damage in the ceiling in the living room. Somebody always laughs. I see this all the time. The damage has been there, there's nothing wrong, it's perfectly fine. But when a buyer walks in, they're gonna see this blotch on your ceiling. Paint that, get somebody in to fix that up. It's a simple thing to fix, and then it doesn't alarm anybody that there's a leak, because the first thing they're gonna say is, oh my gosh, your roof is leaking. No, the roof is not leaking. I had the leaks 15 years ago. I replaced the roof. Everything's fine, but you don't want to alert people to something that's not there. So there's certain little things that I say to fix, but other things I don't think that you have to. But clean is a necessity. The other thing I always say to repair are any electrical or plumbing issues. You know that your faucet leaks. You know that there's a drip, or something, or your faucet's old and it's, jiggly and it's needed to be replaced for 5 years, get it replaced. They're pretty inexpensive to do that, and it's worth it to do things like that. If you know of any issues with your electrical, those are major systems, and I always say try to have those repaired. But when it comes to cosmetic stuff, 9 out of 10 times a buyer's gonna come in and change things anyway. They're gonna come in and repaint the living room. They're gonna come in and change the flooring. So long as everything's clean and neat and looks good, you don't have to put the money into it. Make sense? Okay. Your heating and air conditioning system. I know I get mine inspected every year. Not everybody does. If you have not, you should always send somebody out just to have it checked. It's always a good idea, and then that's one worry off your mind. And even if it's an old system, I've sold homes with 20-year-old furnaces and they work perfectly fine and people accept them and it's okay, but they're maintained and people know that they're in good working order. So that's what I always look for. If you haven't had it looked at in a while, just get somebody out there. It's just always a smart thing to do, and your system's gonna be much more efficient. Because these days too, if something is broken like an air conditioner, I just had to replace my air conditioning unit. And the government has changed all their rules and regulations about Freon and how the systems operate. And they're much more expensive now. Aside from inflation and the government regulations, you're better off getting somebody out there and maintaining an old system. It's gonna last you a lot longer. Going to the new systems is very expensive. I was actually stunned at how much it cost me to replace my air conditioning unit. But I mean, it works great and that's fine, but part of that was because of regulations and I was not a happy girl. So it's always good to kind of know in advance. And then we were talking about this before, don't block any accesses. Make sure your crawl spaces are accessible, your attic spaces are accessible. And this is whether you're staying or not. You need to be able to get into these just in case you have a leak in your plumbing or something. Somebody needs to get into your crawl space if you don't have a basement. Somebody needs to get into the attic for something. You should always have these spaces accessible. It's just for the health of your home and to do that. Let's see, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, one other thing on that too, I want to mention, wallpaper. I get asked about wallpaper all the time. If the wallpaper is not peeling, and it's in good condition, leave it alone. I bought my house, it had 5 rooms with wallpaper in it, I came in, had somebody take it out, and I painted before I moved in. Most buyers know that they're gonna have to do that on an older home. But if you've got a room where there's a whole piece of the wallpaper that's ripped off, you may wanna consider having somebody come in and take off that wall and just paint the wall. You don't have to take the whole thing down, but it's something you wanna consider, again, clean and neat. Make sense? Okay, any other questions on that? Okay. Landscaping is the other issue, if you're thinking about prepping your home to sell. Yes, people judge the book by its cover. They say that they don't, but they do, absolutely. So you wanna make sure that everything is just neat and tidy. You do not have to go out and re-landscape. You do not have to buy more plants. You can if you want to, if you want a little color or something, it's not a necessity. Just have somebody weed. Make sure that the weeds are gone, that you don't have 5-foot weeds all around the house. I've seen this. Just get rid of most of the weeds. Make sure that the lawn is trimmed. Make sure that the bushes are not covering a window, things of that nature. And the other thing that inspectors look for, which is really interesting, is you're not supposed to have any vegetation or dirt touching the house. So especially the siding. So when plants get overgrown, they start rubbing up against the building, or you see ivy growing up the side of the building, get rid of that. You've got to take that down. It's really not good for the house at all to have ivy. It's gorgeous. It looks beautiful, but it is not good for the house. Because it starts to get into the house, it creates holes, there's bugs, all sorts of stuff. So if you've got bushes, you want to just keep them away from touching the house, just a few inches, not a whole lot. So a little bit of trimming there is always important. Your front door, there's nothing that I hate more when I go to a house and there's spider webs all over the front door. And I am fighting the cobwebs to get to the lock or the screen or whatever, because you only use the back door when you go in and out, so you don't think about the front door. Nobody uses the front door. Think about the front door. Make sure the door is wiped down or painted or cleaned. Just little things that are easy make such a big difference. And, yeah, I hate fighting the spiders. Yeah, it freaks me out. And then your gutters. If you don't have gutter guards, make sure there are not plants growing out of your gutters. You'd be surprised how often I see that too. That means your gutters are clogged. Gutters are clogged, it's no good. Your roof can be a little older, your gutters can be older, but they have to be working properly. So that's always, the major systems need to be in working order. And people forget about the gutters, and then you pull up and there's like a whole nice, all these plants growing in the front of the house for the gutter. You see that a lot.
I have the idea that I wanna do this, but I wanna ask you. I would like to have an inspector come out and go over all this stuff before I even.
I think it's a great idea, and I highly suggest that, and actually that is, I think I was just gonna, no, that was perfect. Because that is absolutely perfect. I think it's very, very smart to have an inspector, especially when you've been in your home as long as you have. So then you know what could come up, or if there's anything major wrong. Just one thing to remember, when you do that, you have to disclose anything you find out. So when you're selling your home, there's 5-page disclosure form for the state of Ohio. And you have to disclose anything that you know of that's wrong with the house. Now, it says to go back 5 years is what the form says. But if you've been in your home for 50 years and you know that your basement flooded twice, but you had it fixed because you put in a sump pump and you had somebody out, it hasn't flooded since, I still say disclose it. Because to me, more disclosure is better than less. But if your roof leaked 20 years ago, but you replaced the roof and you have no more leaking, you're okay. Because you've replaced it, and that there's certain things that, if your roof is 20 years old, it's gonna need to be replaced anyway pretty soon. So if it's older, the shingles last 30 years, but around here, because of the weather, they're lasting maybe 25 if you're lucky on a 30-year shingle. So it's something just to consider. So if your roof is older, but that's different, if your basement flooded, people always want to know about that. But if your roof is a little bit older and you know it's gonna have to be replaced in the next 5 years, that's something an inspector can easily see. But they can't see that your basement had flooded in the past, things like that. So it's a give and take on whether you should disclose or not, and that's something you talk to your realtor about. And just, I always say though, if you think of it as something you think somebody should know, disclose it.
Who do you call to get an inspection?
Oh, I've got names of several people I can give you.
Okay.
Yeah, there's multiple home inspectors in the area, and I'd be happy to give you a few names. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, the inspections run about, I want to say about $500. And just so you all know too, when somebody's coming in to buy your home, there's several inspections that they do. They do a home inspection. I do, for my buyers, a radon inspection. So if you have a radon system, you're probably fine. Some areas have more than others. Some people don't even realize that radon can be an issue. Do you guys know what radon is?
Is it required then that you have that little gizmo put in your house?
That's up to the buyer. I will say 9 out of 10 times the buyers do request it if the radon levels are high. They do want it installed because it's actually an environmental issue. So that is one of the working functions of a home. So because it's environmental, usually the buyers are asking for it, but it's a negotiated item. So you can either say yes to doing it, no to doing it. You can give a price reduction and let them do it later. There's all sorts of ways to work it out. But most buyers do ask for it because it is an environmental issue, kind of like mold. If they found mold, they'd want that remediated. Radon's a similar thing. So the radon tests are easy, but the other thing that a lot of people don't think about, and I do this on old homes, is I do a sewer scope for my buyers.
What?
A sewer scope. So you run a line from the clean out to the city street, because the homeowner's responsibility is from the clean out to the street. And a lot of times people don't realize it. You've got trees in your yard and plants and grass and all sorts of weeds and roots and stuff that can get into these pipes. And with settling of the ground, sometimes the pipes break. You may not have an issue in your home, but eventually that's going to become a problem, depending on how severe the issue is. To run a sewer line through, I think the inspections run based on who you use between $200, $250. They run a camera down the line and see if it gets stuck. I would say 9 out of 10 times, if it gets stuck, it's just a quick $100 roto-rooter it out, and then your line is clear and it's been fine. But every once in a while, I've had a big break in the line and they have to dig up the yard and they have to dig things up, and it can be a few $1,000s to repair something like that. And so that is something that not everybody asks for that. But that is something that I do for my buyers on older homes.
Who do you call to get it done?
I actually, any plumber will do it. Any plumber will do it, and if you need names, I have a few names.
I have a septic system.
Yes.
What do they do about that?
Septic systems, usually there is a whole inspection that happens around septic systems. And usually the tank gets pumped after the inspection as well. It's a negotiated point on who pays for it. If your system's in good, usually the buyer pays for all the inspections. By the way, 9 out of 10 times the buyers pay for it. Every once in a while, they might ask you to pump the system or not. The last septic tank house I sold, the buyers paid for the whole thing and had the tank pumped.
I do that every few years anyhow.
Then you should be just fine. If you have the tank pumped on a regular basis, you should be in really good shape. I know when I had a septic system personally, I moved in 10 years later, I moved out, I never touched it. Never had anybody.
Nobody tells you.
No, nobody does tell you. So when I moved out, they inspected it was fine. I was very fortunate,
Wow.
but it does happen where things can come up.
I've got a septic system and the health department, comes out and, issues you a certification that it passes their, regulations. And so I keep that because if I ever have to sell then I got that paper, cause that'll have to be done anyways.
Absolutely. Yes, and it's actually not required to have that, believe it or not, but it's great that you do. Cause most septic tanks do have something on file with the county. And so it's just a matter of digging up the information, but that's great that you have it handy. That's wonderful. Yeah, same thing with well, systems is also, if you've got a well on your property, some buyers do a potability test to make sure that the water's clean. And, but nothing is required to be done. I will tell you, when I sold in Oregon, the state required, certain things to be done on the septic system as well as a potability test be filed with the state. In Ohio, they don't do that. So when I got here and sold my first house with a septic and a well, I'm like, I don't have to do any of this? I was a little surprised, but the buyers took care of all of it and they did all those tests just to make sure that everything was working correctly and everything was fine. But it is just something to keep in mind. Yes.
I have a well that we have not used. And I don't know if it went dry or the pump or what.
You're on public,
Yeah,
water?
we're in the city.
Okay.
So, is there anything to
No.
tell us, would it be an asset to tell potential buyers that there is a well?
Well, I would tell them for two reasons. Number one, they need to know where the wellhead is and that there is a well on the property. And then they may be able to hook it up themselves for an irrigation system or something later. So I think it's just an asset to let them know that there was a well on the property. We haven't used it. We haven't touched it in 20 years, don't know anything about it, but here's where it is. And that's all I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just an extra perk if somebody wants to go do something to try and make it an irrigation well or something like that. Any other questions? I don't think I've got anything else here? I think I covered everything that I had, so you guys have been great though, asking a lot of questions throughout, that's always perfect. Anything else? I've got lists of contractors and names and all sorts of stuff if you need anything, and you don't have to be selling your home. If you just need names, my phone number is all over the material. I hand it out. Please feel free to email me, text me, call me, and I'd be happy to share my resources. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, everybody. Inspectors. Okay.